When Joe Flacco was suddenly traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, most Cleveland Browns fans thought the path was finally clear. Shedeur Sanders, the young quarterback who lit up training camp and preseason with jaw-dropping plays, was expected to step in and claim the starting job without question. And yet, what happened next shocked the entire NFL landscape. In just 8 words on social media, Sanders dropped an ultimatum that sent ripples across the league. "If I'm QB2 after Flacco's gone, then I'm gone too." Those 8 words weren't just frustration. They were a full-blown declaration of war against an organization that had repeatedly undervalued him. This isn't the story of a rookie whining about playing time. This is a story of organizational betrayal, a young quarterback staring directly at a system that seems determined to ignore his talent. Behind the scenes, the tension had been building for weeks. Sources close to Sanders report a growing frustration as every practice, every film session, every perfectly executed play seemed to go unnoticed. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, who posted solid but unspectacular performances, continued to receive preferential treatment. And when the Browns' head coach finally made the decision official, the silence that followed from the front office was deafening. Cleveland fans erupted, but not just with excitement, they were in disbelief. The very quarterback who had dominated preseason games, who had displayed elite arm talent, precision, and composure beyond his years, had been passed over. The city had seen this movie before. Quarterbacks discarded, opportunities wasted, frustration mounting year after year. But this time, Sanders didn't just accept it quietly. He made his stance public, turning what would normally be an internal team conflict into a national spectacle. In the first few hours after his announcement, the fallout was instantaneous. Locker room tensions flared, veteran players reportedly confronted coaches, and social media exploded with Browns supporters demanding accountability. Analysts, former players, and YouTube creators alike dissected every angle of the decision, turning a divisional personnel choice into a story that captivated the entire NFL. And the deeper you look, the more you realize this isn't just about who starts week 1. It's about leadership failures, fractured power dynamics, and a young quarterback refusing to let politics dictate his career. By the end of this video, you'll see why Shedeur Sanders' ultimatum is more than just a personal statement. It's a cautionary tale of organizational dysfunction, a drama unfolding in real time, and a reminder that in today's NFL, talent alone isn't always enough. Everything began on a seemingly ordinary Wednesday afternoon when the Browns made a move that would change the trajectory of their season and their quarterback room forever. Joe Flacco, the veteran quarterback many saw as a bridge or safety net, was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. On paper, it was a routine transaction. The Bengals needed experienced insurance after Joe Burrow dealt with minor injury concerns. But in Cleveland, the trade immediately triggered seismic reactions. Fans erupted across social media, celebrating what they saw as the long-awaited opportunity for Shedeur Sanders to finally step into the spotlight. For Browns Nation, it felt like the stars had aligned. Flacco's departure meant no obstacles, no excuses, no veteran roadblocks standing between Sanders and the starting job he had earned with his dazzling performances in training camp and preseason. Every throw, every deep ball, every perfectly executed play had set expectations impossibly high. Sanders wasn't just a promising rookie anymore. He was the quarterback the city had been waiting for, a chance to finally break free from decades of quarterback disappointment. And yet, while fans celebrated, the silence from the organization was deafening. No announcement, no statement, no confirmation. Insider whispers suggested that front office meetings were tense, coaching staff debates heated, and the weight of the decision hung heavily over everyone in Berea. In fans' minds, it was almost certain. The starting nod would go to Sanders before Thursday's practice. The anticipation was tangible. Then Friday morning arrived, and reality hit like a thunderclap. Head coach Kevin Stefanski stepped to the podium and dropped the bombshell. Dillon Gabriel would remain the starter. Sanders would be relegated to the backup role indefinitely. The collective gasp across Cleveland wasn't just disappointment, it was disbelief. The city, the fans, the analysts, everyone watching knew what they had just witnessed. A franchise publicly undermining its most talented player, ignoring preseason evidence, and letting politics and perceived draft status dictate the future. What should have been a moment of celebration quickly spiraled into controversy. Social media erupted. Locker rooms buzzed with tension. Analysts dissected every angle, every stat, every possible motive behind the decision. The trade that was supposed to clear the path for Sanders had instead illuminated everything wrong with the Browns' organization: favoritism, indecision, and dysfunction. And while this was only the beginning, it set the stage for one of the most explosive rookie declarations in recent NFL history. A declaration that would rock the league and force everyone to confront the reality of Cleveland's quarterback drama. Friday morning brought the kind of news no Browns fan wanted to hear. Despite Flacco's departure, Dillon Gabriel would remain the starting quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie who had electrified training camp and preseason with throws that seemed to defy physics, was relegated to backup duties. For fans, this wasn't just surprising, it was devastating. The young quarterback who had proven himself time and again, who had demonstrated arm strength, accuracy, and the kind of playmaking ability that could define a franchise for years, was being passed over for someone whose performances, while solid, lacked the same spark. Inside the locker room, the impact was immediate. Sources describe a tense atmosphere as veteran players processed what many saw as a clear misstep by the coaching staff. Offensive linemen reportedly confronted head coach Kevin Stefanski during team meetings, questioning the rationale behind the decision. Receivers privately praised Sanders' precision and timing, noting how his throws consistently put them in the best position to make plays, while Gabriel's approach felt conservative and cautious by comparison. Defensive veterans, meanwhile, maintained a careful neutrality, aware that any public alignment could worsen tensions. The fallout extended beyond the locker room. Across social media, Browns Nation erupted. Fans flooded team accounts, local media outlets, and national platforms with outrage. Hashtags calling for accountability began trending, and analysts weighed in on every aspect of the decision, dissecting press conference body language, previous game tape, and even coaching philosophies. For a team already accustomed to quarterback controversies, this felt eerily familiar, but somehow more urgent. Sanders' talents were undeniable, his preseason stats compelling, yet the organization seemed determined to ignore them. This wasn't just about who would take the first snap in Week 1. It was a window into a franchise struggling with internal politics, organizational dysfunction, and fractured decision-making. Ownership pressures, coaching pride, and front office dynamics collided, creating an environment where talent alone wasn't enough to guarantee opportunity. The city of Cleveland, long frustrated with repeated quarterback mismanagement, watched helplessly as a promising rookie's career hung in the balance. For Sanders, this was more than disappointment, it was a calculated response. Friends and insiders describe his social media announcement not as a moment of rash emotion, but as a measured, deliberate statement. He refused to watch politics override talent. The world now had to pay attention. The Browns' decision had set the stage for chaos, controversy, and one of the most talked-about rookie ultimatums in recent NFL history. And the league, the media, and the fans all watched, knowing this was far from over. By Friday afternoon, the tension that had been simmering behind the scenes finally erupted into a public spectacle. Shedeur Sanders, no longer willing to sit quietly on the sidelines, made his stance crystal clear. In a single explosive social media post, he declared, "If I'm QB2 after Flacco's gone, then I'm gone too." 8 words, one message, no ambiguity. This wasn't rookie impatience or a fleeting emotional reaction. It was a calculated ultimatum aimed squarely at an organization that had repeatedly undervalued his talent.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
For insiders close to Sanders, the declaration was the culmination of weeks of mounting frustration. Training camp had showcased a quarterback ready for the big stage, precise throws, impeccable timing, and a command of the offense that surpassed expectations for a fifth-round rookie. Yet, despite outperforming Dylan Gabriel in practice sessions, preseason games, and even intangible leadership qualities, Sanders watched as Gabriel maintained his starting role. The decision wasn't just disappointing, it felt like a betrayal. The reaction to Sanders' announcement was immediate and explosive. Locker rooms buzzed with unrest as veteran players reportedly confronted the coaching staff, questioning the rationale behind Gabriel's continued selection. Offensive linemen, who had first-hand experience with Sanders' preparation and skill, openly voiced concern about protecting the wrong quarterback. Receivers praised Sanders' accuracy, timing, and downfield aggression, contrasting it with Gabriel's conservative approach. Social media erupted in parallel, with Browns supporters flooding local and national platforms, demanding accountability and praising Sanders' courage for speaking out. What made this moment unprecedented wasn't just the declaration itself, but the context. In today's NFL, player empowerment is on the rise, and Sanders' public stance highlighted a growing shift. Elite talent is no longer willing to accept being ignored, sidelined, or undervalued. By forcing the organization into a public reckoning, Sanders challenged the Browns' leadership, coaching staff, and front office simultaneously. It was a statement of principle, a challenge to outdated hierarchies, and a bold move to ensure his talent received the respect it deserved. This ultimatum didn't just put pressure on the Browns, it signaled to the entire league that Sanders was a quarterback in demand, a talent willing to take control of his career and unwilling to settle for politics over performance. Within hours, analysts, former players, and fans dissected every nuance of his declaration, debating what it meant for Cleveland, for the NFL, and for the trajectory of Sanders' career. One thing was clear. The rookie had made his position undeniable, and the organization now faced a choice with consequences that would resonate far beyond Week 1. The moment Shedeur Sanders dropped his ultimatum, the tension inside the Cleveland Browns locker room exploded. What had been simmering quietly for weeks now boiled over into full-blown unrest. Multiple veteran players reportedly confronted head coach Kevin Stefanski during team meetings, demanding explanations for why Gabriel retained the starting role. Offensive linemen, who had worked closely with both quarterbacks in practice, were particularly vocal, pointing out the obvious. Sanders' preparation, leadership, and execution gave the team its best chance to win. One guard allegedly muttered, "We're protecting the wrong quarterback." Another offensive tackle reportedly told position coaches, "Everyone knows who gives us the best shot at victory." Receivers privately echoed the sentiment, praising Sanders' timing, accuracy, and willingness to take calculated risks downfield. Compared to Gabriel, whose approach was viewed as cautious and conservative, Sanders' playmaking elevated everyone around him. Defensive veterans, meanwhile, attempted to maintain neutrality in public statements but privately acknowledged the uncomfortable reality. The internal conflict wasn't about personal animosity. It was a philosophical disagreement over talent, leadership, and who the team should truly trust to lead them to victory. This locker room unrest quickly became impossible to contain. With Sanders' social media announcement already circulating widely, players' private frustrations turned public. Clips, quotes, and opinions began leaking to media outlets and social platforms, amplifying the chaos. Analysts dissected body language from practices, coaches, interviews, and player interactions, further exposing cracks in team cohesion. The Browns' internal discord was now a spectacle, with national attention magnifying every misstep and every whispered complaint. The fallout highlighted something far more significant than a quarterback controversy. It revealed systemic dysfunction. Leadership failures, communication breakdowns, and inconsistent decision-making created an environment where talent alone was insufficient to secure opportunity. Players accustomed to following protocol were now questioning the very authority of coaches, navigating a fragile balance between loyalty, personal performance, and team success. The situation forced every player to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their collective aspirations were at risk not because of performance, but because organizational politics had taken precedence. Sanders' ultimatum acted as a catalyst, crystallizing tensions that had existed quietly for weeks. It forced every veteran, coach, and staff member to reckon with the reality of the situation. The quarterback the team needed most was sitting on the bench, and the consequences of ignoring that fact could shape the Browns' season, locker room culture, and reputation for years to come. The fallout wasn't just immediate, it was profound, systemic, and far from over. The debate over who should lead the Cleveland Browns didn't stay confined to the locker room. It spread across social media, analyst desks, and living rooms nationwide. On one side, Dillon Gabriel supporters pointed to experience, consistency, and a traditional path to NFL readiness. 4 years as a collegiate starter, success in the transfer portal, and methodical development suggested he was a safe choice. Coaches highlighted his system familiarity and ability to execute plays with precision. To them, Gabriel embodied stability, a quarterback who wouldn't rock the boat and could grow into a long-term starter under careful guidance. But Sanders' camp painted an entirely different picture. His supporters argued that talent, leadership, and the ability to elevate those around him couldn't be measured in years or draft status. Sanders brought an electrifying energy to the field, combining arm strength, accuracy, and a natural command of the offense. Receivers praised his timing, offensive linemen admired his preparation, and defensive teammates recognized his improvisational instincts. Simply put, his playmaking ability and leadership magnetism created tangible advantages that couldn't be ignored. This wasn't just a difference of opinion, it was a fundamental philosophical clash. Gabriel's supporters valued process, patience, and incremental growth. Sanders' advocates prioritized performance, potential, and instant impact. The disagreement wasn't about preference. It was about what the Browns believed defined a franchise quarterback. Would they reward consistent but unspectacular execution, or would they embrace raw talent, game-changing ability, and the risk of immediate empowerment? The contrast extended beyond stats. Sanders' preseason numbers were remarkable. A 71% completion rate, 8.9 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 60% success rate on deep balls traveling 20-plus yards. Gabriel, by comparison, posted respectable but less dazzling figures. 64% completion, 7.1 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. The difference wasn't just numbers, it was about the ceiling each quarterback represented. Gabriel offered a competent baseline. Sanders offered transcendent potential, the kind of talent capable of redefining a franchise trajectory. Ultimately, the debate highlighted a broader problem for Cleveland: fractured priorities and inconsistent evaluation criteria. The organization faced more than a decision about Week 1. It confronted a choice that would set the tone for its culture, its credibility, and its ability to retain elite talent. Gabriel versus Sanders wasn't merely a positional battle. It was a philosophical, organizational, and cultural crossroads, with consequences stretching far beyond the quarterback room. Behind the scenes, the Browns' quarterback controversy revealed more than just a talent debate. It exposed deep fractures in coaching and front office dynamics. Head coach Kevin Stefanski found himself navigating a nightmare of his own making. On one hand, he had a talented rookie in Shedeur Sanders clearly outperforming Dillon Gabriel. On the other, he faced the delicate task of defending his coaching decisions while maintaining authority over a team now questioning every move. In public, Stefanski offered vague explanations about system mastery, consistency, and development timelines. But insiders say there was little statistical evidence or performance-based reasoning to justify Gabriel's continued starting role. Meanwhile, ownership and management were caught in an impossible bind. Sources suggest that team owner Jimmy Haslam was blindsided by Sanders' public declaration and furious at the unfolding chaos. Haslam reportedly advocated for Sanders receiving the starting nod immediately, believing that the fifth-round rookie represented a cornerstone talent capable of shaping the franchise for years. Between the coaching staff's stubbornness and the owner's expectations, general manager Andrew Berry found himself in a precarious position, attempting to defend Stefanski's authority publicly while privately questioning the rationale behind the quarterback decision. The situation escalated rapidly. Emergency meetings convened, damage control attempts were made, and every statement, from coaches, executives, and staff, was scrutinized for hidden meaning. The organization, normally accustomed to internal processes, suddenly found its dysfunction broadcast to the entire NFL ecosystem. Social media, analysts, and former players dissected every angle, creating a pressure cooker environment that made even minor missteps catastrophic. This wasn't merely about assigning snaps. It was about leadership, accountability, and credibility. Stefanski's inability to clearly justify his decision, combined with conflicting signals from ownership and management, created an environment where no choice seemed correct. The players noticed, the fans noticed, and the media certainly noticed. Every comment, practice, and press conference became a litmus test for authority and decision-making. At the heart of this dynamic was a critical failure. The organization prioritized hierarchy, pride, and politics over objective evaluation of talent. Sanders' ultimatum forced the Browns into a public reckoning, exposing the misalignment between coaching philosophy, front office strategy, and ownership vision. In the modern NFL, where elite players demand respect and transparency, failing to manage these dynamics could derail not only a season, but also a franchise's long-term credibility. When assessing the Cleveland Browns' quarterback dilemma, one thing is undeniable. Shedeur Sanders is not just a talented rookie, he is a transcendent playmaker whose abilities already rival NFL starters. Across training camp and preseason, Sanders demonstrated an uncanny command of the offense, executing complex plays with precision and confidence. His completion percentage stood at an impressive 71%, averaging 8.9 yards per attempt with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. But the stats only tell part of the story. It's his deep ball accuracy, connecting on 60% of passes traveling 20-plus yards, and his improvisational skill turning broken plays into explosive gains that truly set him apart. In contrast, Dillon Gabriel's preseason numbers, while respectable, pale in comparison. A 64% completion rate, 7.1 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Gabriel's game reflects competence, consistency, and careful decision-making, but lacks the dynamic, highlight reel impact that Sanders brings. Even in limited opportunities, Sanders' ability to extend plays with mobility, escape pressure, and create opportunities out of chaos revealed a quarterback with instincts far beyond his years. Receivers and offensive teammates consistently praised his timing, anticipation, and accuracy, noting that his throws consistently put them in the best position to make plays. Sanders' physical gifts add another dimension. His release quickness generates superior ball velocity, and his deep passes often arc perfectly into receivers, catch radius, forcing defenses into impossible choices. His scrambling ability and field vision transform negative plays into positive ones, and his frequency of explosive, game-changing plays sets him apart from traditional quarterbacks. While Gabriel offers solid intermediate accuracy and system familiarity, Sanders represents a higher ceiling, a potential franchise-defining talent capable of elevating every aspect of the offense. Beyond the numbers, Sanders' mental fortitude is remarkable. Pressure, scrutiny, and organizational chaos would rattle many rookies, yet he remains composed, confident, and focused. His football IQ, shaped by lifetime immersion in the sport under the guidance of legendary mentors, allows him to process defensive schemes, anticipate openings, and make split-second decisions with poise. This combination of talent, intelligence, and confidence separates him from Gabriel and positions him as a true cornerstone quarterback capable of shaping the Browns, or any team lucky enough to secure him, for years to come. Sanders isn't just ready for the NFL, he's ready to dominate it. Shedeur Sanders' ultimatum and evident talent didn't just rock Cleveland, they sent shockwaves across the entire NFL. Teams from New Orleans to Green Bay began monitoring the situation closely, recognizing that the Browns' internal chaos could create a rare opportunity, acquiring a potential franchise quarterback without giving up premium draft capital. For organizations evaluating quarterback succession or contingency plans, Sanders' public declarations signaled availability, willingness, and perhaps most importantly, elite talent ready to step into a starting role immediately. The New Orleans Saints reportedly showed significant interest. With Derek Carr's tenure under scrutiny and an offensive system built for downfield aggression, Sanders could fit perfectly. His improvisational ability, precise deep ball accuracy, and leadership skills align with the Saints' vision for explosive, quarterback-driven offense. Similarly, the Baltimore Ravens, despite Lamar Jackson's presence, reportedly see Sanders as a unique asset. His arrival could create innovative offensive packages or act as insurance in the event of injury, offering a strategic advantage against the league's top defenses. Green Bay, however, represents the most intriguing possibility. With Jordan Love's long-term role still uncertain, Sanders could slide into a system designed for immediate success. The Packers' established coaching staff, talented receiving core, and balanced offensive infrastructure could allow him to compete for a Super Bowl right away. For teams like Green Bay, acquiring Sanders wouldn't just be about filling a gap. It would be about adding a cornerstone talent capable of reshaping a franchise's trajectory. Financially, Sanders' fifth-round rookie contract makes him an extraordinarily valuable asset. Unlike high-cost draft picks or free agent signings, teams could secure elite quarterback talent while preserving roster flexibility. Conservative estimates suggest the Browns could command at least a second-round compensation in a trade, potentially escalating to a first-round pick if multiple teams enter the bidding war. The combination of availability, talent, and financial value creates a perfect storm, making Sanders one of the most sought-after prospects in recent NFL history. Meanwhile, the Browns' inability to effectively manage this situation underscores the high stakes. Every misstep risks not only losing Sanders, but also damaging organizational credibility and competitive standing. For rival franchises, Cleveland's dysfunction represents opportunity, a cautionary tale for one, and a potential franchise-altering acquisition for another. The league is watching, fans are watching, and every move now carries implications far beyond a single team's quarterback room. Sanders' decision didn't just start a debate, it created a league-wide ripple effect, reminding everyone that in today's NFL, elite talent and player empowerment can shift power, influence strategy, and rewrite franchise futures almost overnight. The Browns' handling of Shedeur Sanders isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a long, troubling pattern that has plagued the franchise for decades. From Baker Mayfield's tumultuous tenure to the mishandling of Deshaun Watson and other quarterback controversies, Cleveland has repeatedly demonstrated an inability to properly evaluate, develop, and protect elite talent. Sanders' situation feels eerily familiar. A young quarterback with undeniable ability, yet caught in the crossfire of organizational politics, coaching ego, and inconsistent leadership. Historically, the Browns have struggled to balance short-term decisions with long-term strategy. They've allowed personal pride, front office pressure, and external expectations to dictate moves, often at the expense of performance and merit. With Mayfield, the franchise wavered between trusting his talent and succumbing to coaching and management pressures, ultimately undermining both his confidence and the team's cohesion. Deshaun Watson's acquisition later demonstrated a willingness to overcompensate for previous failures, sacrificing draft capital and organizational credibility to chase a perceived solution, yet failing to create lasting stability. Sanders' current predicament echoes these missteps, a promising player caught in a system that prioritizes politics over performance.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.